Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast. I'm Max, and this is a video game show where I'm joined every week by a live service podcast host. It's Sema. Hello there, Sema.
I provide service 24/7.
Live
and
service.
I'm alive. I'm also alive.
Yes, I was thinking today we're going to be talking about some updates to 3 of our favorite MMOs that we like to play, and it's exciting times, and we're happy about it. And I was realizing, although people, I mean, quote unquote people, but when you talk about live service, a lot of people will just pipe up and say, and it might not be the people that like it or not, you know how this works. They will say, live service is bad. We need to get back to the days when developers would just make a game and they would make that game good. However,
right, because they equate live service with cash shops.
Yes, and with dark patterns and predatory monetization in general.
Right.
But we'll talk about that just for 2 seconds before we talk about, SWTOR had an update, Fallout 76 has a fun update, and World of Warcraft had their update, and we'll talk a little bit about each of those 3 today. But join the post-show or the pre-show if you want Escape Podcast, because we were talking about my toaster oven. You making any holiday cookies or treats yet?
Oh yes.
Look,
I have
got
a whole
my little
schedule
tree
mapped out.
Here. I got to figure out if I'm making something for sometimes I'll make a big batch of something and then box up or jar up little bits and bring it to the 2 Christmas parties that a Christmas Eve and a Christmas Day, a couple sides of the family. And I have done that in previous years. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do it this year. But if I am, I better figure it out quick. Maybe I'll do maybe I'll do the spiced pecans. I haven't done that in a while. Might do that.
I'm gonna do. I just got a big bag of raw almonds today, so I'm gonna do toasted sugared almonds, which are really yummy.
Excellent. Well,
but pecans would be good too. Actually, I do have some pecans as well. Some really nice pecans. Okay, off track.
Well, we do have a Yule. Okay, let's start the news because we do have a Yule offering to kick off the news. Where's my news button?
Good news, everyone.
Yeah, so let's start with the Yule offering to dovetail off of our holiday preparations, which is the Ghoul log. Paying attention to Fallout 76 quite a bit, and they did this. I think this is more based off the fun of the TV show. But
yes, I do think so too.
If you ever been on YouTube and seen some of those, just a 2-hour Yule log, it's just like a burning fire. So you can have the Yule log that you just play on your TV off of YouTube. One of my favorite versions of that is Ron from Parks and Rec. What's his name?
What is his name?
You know that guy. He did one where he just it's his Yule offering, and he basically just sits in a chair drinking whiskey, Lagavulin, and that's it. He just stares at the camera with a fire burning behind him, and stares at the camera for 2 hours. And just silently drinks whiskey. That was one of my favorite versions.
Was he the first one to do that? Because remember when that Hearthstone guy did it?
I don't know. Maybe that happened first. But that is a good version.
Idea, yeah.
This is a new version. So the camera isn't on Walton Goggins, but Walton Goggins as the Ghoul kicks this one off. And it's the Ghoul log. And he explains a little bit. He's because he breaks out his little vials, he's like, I got enough vials for the 12 vials for 12 days of Christmas. But we don't really have a Santa around these parts. So he lights up a fire, and he's got a zombie arm on the fire.
Right.
Because he says it burns really well if you get a fat zombie. Because the fat dries and
he collects them throughout the year and dries them out, so he'll have them for the winter. But then he also says there's not much seasonal change, but
not anymore there in West Virginia because of what the nuclear winter did to the climate. But he then just the camera turns and just looks at the fire for the rest of the hour and a half of this video, and the radio plays. And they got the voice, which is Wayne Newton, who did the voice of the radio announcer in Fallout New Vegas. I believe that's what the connection is. He does little stories and then plays songs. So he's like doing the DJ thing. So then they're playing a bunch of like Fallout era version of holiday music. And then he's telling these little stories. I didn't listen to it, but you did, Sema. And while I thought it was just cute little stories and then the holiday songs, you realize
No, they're deeply
horror
disturbing
stories.
Yeah, right. They're definitely Fallout stories.
Yeah. My dog was lost and the 3 wise men came to help me find him. Of course, I shot them in the face. But it was very nice of them to do that.
And then my dog came out. If I'd only known that, I would have only had to kill one of them.
Yeah. So, typical Fallout lore. But yeah, so that is fun. So check that out if you need something to put on your family party this season. Also, another holiday story that's brewing. Netflix is apparently close to trying to buy Warner Brothers. They announced that they won the bid and they are doing this deal and they're going to have the whole thing. They're going to buy all of Warner Brothers. However, I was couching this. We were debating it in the pre-show. I was couching this because immediately afterwards, the other conglomerate that was bidding against Netflix, which was a combination, I think, of Larry Ellison, maybe part of Paramount, and like Saudi sovereign fund, and they launched a hostile bid that they want to take directly to the shareholders and blah blah blah. So it's not a done deal from is it actually going to happen? But it's a done deal between Warner Brothers and Netflix. They're happy with it. The other thing that a lot of people are asking about or wishing for, which I don't think is going to happen either, is regulatory review. Is this too much consolidation in the industry? Which I don't think, even if you did a pro-consumer, which we don't have right now necessarily, but a pro-consumer administration regulatory review, that it would be halted in that way, because while Netflix is the biggest streaming service, it is not. It would be difficult to argue that it has monopoly power over streaming in general, especially if you put it up against something like YouTube, which is bigger than Netflix. And Warner Brothers doesn't have a preponderance of the market in their field. So it's like a merger of secondary partners in a lot of ways. Well, I mean, Warner is even a secondary partner. Anyway, Warner Brothers, Netflix. Why is this interesting from a gaming perspective? Because Warner Brothers has a bunch of IP and game studio division. Hogwarts, Legacy of Hogwarts, the Harry Potter game that came out last year, is their biggest hit. So a lot of gamers are asking, what is this going to do for us? Batman Arkham, the Lego games for some of the Lego games, Hogwarts Legacy, Mortal Kombat. So those games, and then anything that would be a DC game, because Warner Brothers is also DC Comics. So all the gamers are going, what is this going to do? Is this going to be good we could get a bunch of game stuff going on? And then a follow-up came out, I think today, where Netflix basically said, I don't know what the context was or what question they were answering, but they were saying, from an accounting perspective, we attributed no value to the gaming part of Warner Brothers in constructing the deal. Now, to be clear, people are taking that as Netflix sees no value, and that's not what they're saying. They're saying they attributed no value in structuring the deal when you're accruing debt and you're putting together the debt package and the valuation and the forward valuation, because likely the margins and the amount of profit that the games division makes compared to DC movies is minuscule, so it's easier just to zero that out. Or they don't care about video games and they could spin it off and sell it.
Yeah.
Or just shut it down and then we're screwed.
Yeah. Right.
As gamers who like those games.
Right.
So we'll
That would
see.
be
Evaluating
yeah.
that as it goes forward.
Yeah.
We also got an update to an update. Boy, this is really it's doing its job. That rock in the desert that Jeff Keeler tweeted about last week. It is doing its job. So more people are investigating, and they seem to have tracked down at least what IP that and it's pretty well confirmed. And the IP is the Divinity IP. So this would be Larian and their Divinity series. People are asking, I think they actually asked, so there's a follow-up even to this, where they asked, oh, is this Divinity Original Sin 3, which would be the next game in the series? And I think the answer was no, it is not Divinity Original Sin 3. Okay, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that, because it's definitely like the logo associated with Divinity and a trademark that was registered associated with Divinity. So is it another game? What it sounds like is it's another game that uses the Divinity IP. That's what people are now expecting. But potentially not Divinity Original Sin 3, or it is Divinity Original Sin 3, and the statement was more alluding to that we are not yet ready to announce what it is, and we will bring you news. Let's see. It says there aren't any, so the quote from Larian was, there aren't currently any plans for a new Divinity Original Sin 3 game, but once we are ready to show what we've been working on, we will.
Yeah, I feel like that's an incomplete sentence.
Now, I would have phrased that if it is Original Sin 3, but they didn't want to announce it early and blow the surprise, I would have say we have not announced any plans for Divinity Original Sin 3. There aren't currently any plans, because then it's a lie if they do tomorrow announce that it's Divinity Original Sin 3. But I mean, not that people are going to care. It's not that big a lie. But I would have phrased it differently.
So it sounds like what they're saying is we don't currently have any plans, but when we make an announcement, we will. That's like, then you must have plans.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I think it's just worded weirdly.
Well, the second part is, but once we are ready to show what we have been working on, we will. Like, it's not Divinity Original Sin 3, but we are working on something else, and when we're ready to show that, we will. And that'll be tomorrow.
Right.
Which is when the Game Awards are. It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure a lot of marketing people are kicking themselves that they didn't pull off this stunt this year, and somebody else is going to do it next year for sure. Put a big rock in the desert. That's what you got to do. We're going to put a giant goat in the desert for next year for gardening a goat. Also in the news, Ubisoft is apparently working on Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake, not just a remaster. So they're calling it Resynced, and it's a remake, and they're potentially going to be updating various little parts of it, plus sort of like the remaster elements of it. There's not a lot of news on this yet, but that's the direction it seems to be headed, which is making a lot of people very excited. And part of the reason they're excited is this was a beloved entry in the Assassin's Creed set of games. But one of the biggest things that drove people to remember how good Assassin's Creed Black Flag was the launch of Skull and Bones. So Ubisoft Skull and Bones came out, and that was not the game that the original Black Flag fans wanted. They wanted more of what Black Flag brought to the table, which then I thought made it strange that now they are coming out with this sort of the remake of Black Flag, because not to make a metaphor out of it, but this will just further sink Skull and Bones, which I think to some degree is a shame, because I think Skull and Bones had some good bones. Well, I'm putting a lot of puns and metaphors in this, aren't I? I think it was good at its core. It didn't have all of like the elements that people wanted at the pirate game. They wanted to be able to like jump on board other ships and swashbuckling the whole first-person shooter kind of version of things, and it's more of a boat is the character game. But I thought it was well done. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was executed well. It was very expensive for them to make it, and they also made it as a partnership with another sovereign fund of some kind. Was it Singapore? Forgot which country it was, but that was part of why it ended up so expensive and why it kind of like went through the iterations that it did. If they're just saying, okay, we're kind of done with that, now we're going to get back to what we originally did and we're good at, it's still just a remake though. It's not like they're doing it's not like Black Flag 2 or something. So we'll see what they're going to do with that. But it does feel like a competitor to Skull and Bones in some ways, especially in the minds of the fans. So sad for Skull and Bones. Last one that I've got. Todd Howard did a couple of interviews lately, and people have been pulling some things out of those various interviews. This latest one was mostly him talking about the Fallout show, but during that discussion of the Fallout show, part of what came up was, yeah, you're ever going to do an Elder Scrolls show? Why don't you do an Elder Scrolls series? And he pretty much said, no plans for that right now, but, you know, it's not going to rule it out. And in fact, the quote was, can't rule in or rule out an Elder Scrolls thing in the future. But Fallout was more uniquely suited, and Fallout has more to say in its genre. And by that, what I think is Fallout is more of a framework with stories that were told in a broader framework, as opposed to Elder Scrolls, which is a much more comprehensive universe of lore and story. I think it would probably be very difficult to make an Elder Scrolls show or series and do it well enough that both new people would be happy with it and the hardcore lore fans would be happy with it. As we've seen with any of the shows that have tried to do this, it's a very fine line. It's a very difficult road to walk. Fallout was great because you could just do just a bunch of kind of like weird things happen in a disjointed timeline, and you could just pull things out of that and jump to another point in the timeline and tell a story. Much more difficult with Elder Scrolls. When people start saying things like, oh, the Dwemer would never have set up this kind of ruins in this way. You're ruining the lore. You're retconning what I grew up with for Elder Scrolls. Dragons would never do that thing. I think that's what you would end up with. In the same way that, like Wheel of Time, the hardcore fans completely dissed Wheel of Time because sacrifices were made to turn it into a show that would appeal to general audiences and not just the hardcore fans. And they ended up putting themselves into a weird position where not enough new people liked it and all of the hardcore fans hated it, and it got canceled. So I would be skeptical of whether or not that kind of thing would work. I don't know. You're not like a hardcore Elder Scrolls lorist. Is that what it's called?
I just, if I'm going to watch a show, I just want it to be a good show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we tend, because we hear it every day, I think we tend to overestimate the importance of the little G gamer complaining that his game is not being told right.
Yes, probably true. In this case, especially for something like Elder Scrolls, that could be the case because it's just sort of like the gamer nerds that even know the lore, as opposed to Wheel of Time, which was a book series for decades.
Right. Nothing but lore, really. Yeah.
So it's kind of different from that perspective. Yeah. So yeah, maybe.
But also, I mean, if Wheel of Time, I know you don't like it when I say this, but when Wheel of Time didn't have a big enough audience, it's just speculation why that was.
True. And it's not because of Rosamund Pike. She was awesome.
Yeah, she was.
What's your position on the Warcraft movie?
I never saw it, but I heard it was not worth watching, really. So
I
that kind of turned me against it.
Yeah, so you got macheted, or
Yeah, I did. Or the opposite of
the opposite of
macheted.
machete.
Yeah.
Machete is macheted. So our friend Machete, if you ever tell him something is really good, then he immediately will never watch it then, because he knows that his expectations are now too high and nothing could ever meet them, and then he won't watch it.
Right.
So that's an anti-machete of it. I would say you should watch it though. I wouldn't say I wouldn't
But
say
I
you
also
shouldn't watch
was
it.
not attracted
I
to how
liked
they
it.
did it. Like, I didn't watch the trailers and go, "Oh, that's my Warcraft world," or and I don't mean it in a gamer way. It's like one of the things I love about Warcraft is how it looks.
Yes.
And so this was basically, um, it was sort of like a men in suits CGI recreation, and it just wasn't that interesting looking to me.
Yeah. The orcs were really good, but everything else kind of was almost like in an uncanny valley where it was kind of Warcrafty, but then kind of not. And why did they do it that way? But as Stask says, as a casual WoW consumer, found the movie entertaining. I liked it.
Oh, I mean, that's
Even as a
good to know.
Warcraft fan, I had fun with it. Not like I've gone back and watched it again or put it on my classic
But I
list or anything,
guarantee
but
you
I liked
that
it.
I would not watch it and think, "Oh, that's the wrong lore," because I'm definitely not
Right.
that clued into the lore of
Right.
Warcraft. That's not why I play WoW.
Yeah. So we'll see on this whole idea of if they ever do an Elder Scrolls property. But Fallout, certainly excited about that, and that's coming out in the next 2 weeks. It's coming soon. Fallout Season 2, and I'm all in on that. That'll be great. All right, that is enough for news today. Coming soon. Not much still. I mean, TikTok, we're almost at the end of 2025, so we're going to be doing our wrap-ups for the year. Tomorrow is the Game Awards, so we will get that to talk about next week of what's going on there. And then the December 16th release of Ark Ascended Lost Colony has been delayed. No surprise there that it was delayed, but it's only delayed till the 18th. So that means a week from tomorrow that will come out. And we have a small group of us that are already champing at the bit. And I gotta do something to make sure Stask and Corley get in there too. I feel like they're gonna say no, but I'm gonna have to do some extra work. A little convincing there. I wonder if
Send them baked goods in the mail because the rates for USPS are very reasonable.
I wonder if a code for Ark showed up in Stask's Steam inventory, if that would get him to play. We'll have to think about that. All right.
I know what would get him to play is if you delivered some mail for him.
Oh, you send me one of your send me a one of your route schedules. He's not that close. I mean, he's like in this section of the country, but not in anywhere that it would be easy to get to. That's because it's only a couple hours away, right, Stask? 2 hours? And I would get to go to the Broad Stop. We'll see. This podcast is brought to you by the U.S. Postal Service because they're awesome. Megan, I'm worried now. Megan is my postal carrier, and I always do like an envelope with a little present in it for her for holidays. And I forgot if it's MEGAN or MEGHAN.
Oh, I forget that one. I'm not sure how to
I
spell
asked her
someone's.
once and, of course, forgot.
And
I
now
think I
you-
might have written it down, though. I'll have to double check if I wrote it down. I think it's with the H. I think she does have the H in her name. So I'll just go for it anyway.
You could just put Meg.
Meg. Shut up, Meg. She is great. So I hope I get it right. If not, I could always do our postal carrier, that kind of thing. So I got to do that, and I got to do that for my milkman. Not a lot of people have a milkman, but I do. This podcast is brought to you by Garden and the Goat, upcoming game from Contemplation Games. We showed off some new stuff last week. We got more new stuff to show off this week. We've got work on treasure chests and the drone buddy that helps you out, and updates to our console screens, and 2 mini games that are going in. Lots of fun things. We're really working hard because by about February, we're planning on an open beta So get in our Discord, stay connected, and you'll have news of when you can apply to that open beta on Steam. It's also brought to you by LA Act Est, our pals in AIE-guild.org, who play games with us. So we're going to be playing a bunch of games, I'm sure, this month in all of the holiday events that happen in all of our favorite MMOs. There's stuff going on in all of them, not the least of which is Star Wars: The Old Republic, which will be starting next week for the winter, what is it called? The Wookiee Life Day events. Life Day. And it'll be a month of Life Day. I was afraid it was only going to be 2 weeks, but it's going to be a month. It's like, we'll be able to throw snowballs and hug Wookiees and get presents and get prizes. Because it's all about the prizes. Unless you reward me with extrinsic motivation, I don't do your thing. It's not the way it's supposed to work. This is also brought to you by all of you watching, listening, and in the chat room right now. As we said, stay tuned before or after the show for fun things like the Escape Podcast, where we talk about what I've been cooking in my new air fryer toaster oven, which is really kind of cool. It was fun. But now we're asking questions about like live service. So what do we, here's the thing about questions.
Oh, what a great question. What say you, Miss McClain?
I love that quote. That just sounds so good. And Malton Goggins is killing it with that role. So the key question, which we'll just kick it off with, is do we as gamers actually want, like, demand live service? Whether or not we even say that with our mouths, is that in general what gets demanded? My conclusion is yes. Because while people will say live service is bad, if any game launches without what in effect is not the live service monetization models, but the constant updates and the roadmap of updates to the game. If you launch a game, you'll find this in the reviews of lots of games on Steam. If you launch a game and put it out there, you'll see quotes out there like a month after the game was released saying, just a complete game. This game is dead. No updates since launch, and it's been 3 weeks. So, like, guys, what do you want? Right. It was a game. We made a game and we put a game out. We're not, you paid $15 for Silk Song that doesn't entitle you to an endless, infinite number of updates, and the dev team is now beholden to you for life because you paid $15. Nobody goes to a movie, watches the movie and goes, leaves the theater and goes, I wonder what's on their roadmap. Are we going to be getting any updates? No, you paid for the movie. You watched the movie. Enjoy it. Have fun. However, it is nice when we get updates. And we do like it as gamers. And we want it. We want more of the things we like.
The problem is the term live service has been basically skunked, right? So it's like,
yes,
when you say live service, you have to define what you mean.
Yes.
Because someone listening might think you mean cash shop, dark patterns, all that stuff. When you mean
the bad
continue
parts.
to pay attention, you mean continue to pay attention.
Yes.
Continue to develop and to keep an eye on the community, to like interact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is the best version of a live service. So the 3 games we're going to talk about today are live services, mostly in good ways. These are all 3, I would say, are definitely good ways. I mean, WoW is probably the one that WoW doesn't have any way for whales to really whale. It's got a couple expensive things in the cash shop, but doesn't have like repeatable expensive things that people could buy over and over and end up spending $1,000 a month. There's like no way to spend $1,000 a month on WoW.
Until now.
Oh, with the housing.
Yeah,
but even then, I wonder like how much it would cost if you bought every single housing item. Well, I guess because you can buy
I don't know.
You can like buy more. You have to buy each one. So if you bought like a million candles, it would be $10 million.
Right. Like I literally do not know.
Oh,
the bottom line on all that.
Except there's an inventory limit on your unplaced items, not just your placed items, but there's an inventory limit on your your unplaced items.
Yeah.
So what happens when you like?
That's the kind of thing I don't know. It'll have to play out, but There's just that is a potential unlimited thing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Anyway, SWTOR has a nice model. It's got a cash shop. It's very cosmetic. It's got subscription. WoW has subscription plus cash shop, and Fallout 76 has what in effect is a subscription. It's kind of like their season pass and then cash shop as well. But all of them are relatively reasonable and well liked by their fans. None of them seem very predatory, and that's what's required to keep servers running and to keep content being developed. And we did get content updates for all 3 of them in the past 2 weeks, which is great. So that's what we're going to talk about.
I mean, and in olden times, live service actually meant that GMs, which is what we call devs now, GMs would actually play characters in the game, and there would be events that were actually live, like they'd be a wandering merchant or something.
Yeah, boy, that was
Yeah.
the best model. It's so hard to do, and it's so
Yeah.
expensive for a development
And
team. But
it's
GMs
super,
jumping into the
yeah,
game, doing stuff
it's
was
super problematic because you can't do it in any way that ever is perceived as fair, right? Like
right.
whatever time of day is the wrong time of day for someone, right?
Yeah,
If you do it randomly, then people start camping out waiting, and that's not fun. Yeah,
right.
so I don't miss it for those reasons, but it just the word changing meanings.
Yeah. I love the days of someone, a GM in WoW. This is like in the beta times, but like spawn a chicken the size of Ragnaros and have it go and like attack Stormwind.
Yeah. Yes.
That was some amazing stuff. And even if you weren't there and didn't see it happen, you could still have fun enjoying it and seeing the videos and stuff.
Right.
All right, let's start with Star Wars: The Old Republic, Sema, because that is one that I think probably between you and I, we played the most of in, well, ever, but also in the last week of the new update. I didn't play much of the story yet, but you did a little bit. So what did we get? Well, let's just go, let's go through the overview, but then I want you to tell me just a little bit about the start. We're not going to spoil it. We'll do story spoilers like maybe next week, or if we do, well, we're not going to do it today, so don't have to worry about that. But we did get story. So we got the Galactic Threads storyline. We did get Wreckage on Dantooine. We're going to talk about that. And then a couple smaller things, which are the PvP season started, season 9. New cartel market items, which is that cash shop. The Life Day event is starting next week. And the Anniversary Stint event is also starting next week, which is mostly you get a little in-game prizes. You get the Astromech droid and a poster that you can pick up basically for free in-game. And then there'll be a double XP event from the 23rd to January 6th. And also that week between Christmas and New Year's, Stask, who's in the chat room right now, is going to be hosting an in-game player event for Alea Iacta Est. So there, you got that too. And then some class changes, which I didn't even look at. So I know nothing about and just did not pay attention to and figured, well, I don't know. If suddenly I become terrible, I guess I'll care.
Right.
Somebody said, "Oh,
Right.
darn, they changed my thing." And I'm mildly sad about that, but I didn't really know much of what they were doing here. But there's a couple class balance changes too. But yeah, tell me about the story. So you at least played a third of the story so far. Just tell me the broad strokes of how it kicks off and kind of what we're
So
what we're doing.
basically, it starts with you and Lana. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it's not Lana on the pub site, but it probably is. And you're on Odessan, which is your hangout where your all your stuff is, and a ship is landing, and it's a ship that you both recognize, but you don't know if it's a friend or a foe based on recent happenings. And by recent happenings, I mean things that happened in our time a long time ago, but this is a continuation of it happens right after, and this is not a spoiler because this is what happened before. It happens right after Shea Vizsla releases Darth Malgus. So
Okay.
that's the impetus for this. And then so I'm not spoiling anything. I'm not going to say who lands in the ship, but basically the story starts from there and it branches in 3 ways, and you can choose the order that you want to do it in.
Okay. That's interesting.
And so I did one of those. And I don't know if that's a third or if that was if it's a larger branch or a smaller branch or whatever. That took me about, I want to say 45 minutes to an hour, because I was doing it at a very relaxed pace. Plus, there was one thing that took me way longer to find than probably it would take anyone else. Um, but yeah, it was good storytelling. I was happy with it. I'm looking forward to doing the rest of it, which I don't often say that. So
Cool. If anyone wants to catch up on what's been going on, and this was huge long delays due to the voice actor strike, but in the last dev stream, which happened 2 weeks ago, the two lead writers and narrative director got on and talked for a long time, at least a half hour on that dev stream of the whole backstory. So it was Caitlin and Ashley got on and did everything that kind of like led up to where this now kicks off. So if you want that kind of backstory and kind of like what brought us to this point of this sort of like this story arc, go listen to that. It's good, pretty good walkthrough.
And the part of the story that I did too was like a good mix of cutscenes and action, meaning gameplay, and also the little storytelling they do along the way. Like when you're walking along and your companion says, gets you up to date on certain things or provides insight into certain things, which is a style of storytelling that they've done before, which I really like. So yeah, it's so far so good.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the story I heard, or at least maybe like one of the third, focuses on Darth Null, who was the Darth who was a servant to the Emperor, and that was like the whole holocron that the lead character Sahar didn't steal. Malgus was trying to steal it, and it's like been a MacGuffin that's been passed around a bit for a little while now. So hopefully, it sounds like we hear more about Darth Null. We know Malgus escaped. We're going to hear hopefully about like what happened from there. How far do you think we get? Well, I guess we'll find out. Maybe we'll save that for spoiler talk. Is like how.
Yeah.
I don't think the story's done after this, but it's
no
2.5 to 3 hours worth of content. So the story moves forward, but yeah, it's not. I'm sure it's not done.
No.
So what else did we get? The other big thing we got, which is people are realizing is bigger on the inside than it seemed on the outside. So little TARDIS effect is the content called Crash Zone on Dantooine. I think is that what
Wreckage.
The wreckage on Dantooine. It's a whole new zone, right?
Right.
And it's on Dantooine, and it's a whole thing. Yeah.
And it's a new way of, or new sort of setting for quote unquote dynamic encounters. And I think because we already know what dynamic encounters are in this world, we underestimated what they actually meant, because it is a much bigger deal than just another set of dynamic encounters.
Yes. Yeah. Dynamic encounters are sort of like just like world events that are spawning all the time in a couple places. And some of them might be like little funny ones, like go herd the cats. Some of them are like kill 20 pirates and then kill the boss pirate. And they are alive for like 20 minutes and then they expire, and you can do them on Hoth. You can do them at a couple different places. A lot of MMOs have similar things that are popping up and spawning. This uses that structure of dynamic events, but they're very narratively interconnected, and a continuing rolling set of these dynamic events are just happening across this new zone, which is quite large in Dantooine, that's broken into 3 subzones stitched together by this idea of this ship that crashed. And the story is this ship was some kind of bioexperimental, biome research vessel that had 3 biomes that were sort of like part of what it was researching, containing. So when it crashes, those 3 biomes spill out into this zone and kind of like infect these areas of Dantooine and give you the opportunity to through these series of ongoing dynamic events, and over a long period of time, try to clean up, fix, save this whole area of Dantooine. And each one's got, so there's new art that they did for this. There's quite a large zone. Almost, seems to me like as big as any of the more recent planets that they've added to the game. Like it seems almost as big as like Runic. Maybe not as big as Runic, but
certainly more varied, which I like.
Like this, it's got this whole lava zone. It's got the frosty ice zone, and the spore zone, right? So are those the three? Heat, ice, and like biospore poisoning zone.
Yeah.
The other thing that you're getting through this, which I think a lot of people don't understand, in fact, I know at least some people don't because I see it in general chat. People are expecting that this is like a quick little one-time thing, right? So they get in here and they're like, what's with this debuff? Why can't I ride my vehicle here? And man, this took me forever just to get to, rank 1 of the reputation. This is intended to take months, if not for a casual player, like a big chunk of the next year to sort of like work through this, work up to it, and to gain power, borrowed power to some degree within these zones to make it easier and easier and easier as you go forward.
Right.
And people aren't getting that. They're like, this is bullshit. I just died. How is that possible? It's supposed to be hard.
The build-up is to a particular encounter, which most people is going to take a while for them to be able to be successful at that encounter.
Yeah, especially that last encounter. So it's the 3 zones, and then it's server-wide. Anybody who's participating is pushing progress in these 3 zones, which happens over the course of, say, a couple hours all the time and continuing. And then when all 3 zones hit 100% on their progress meters, the boss encounter opens up and you can go in with a group of 4 people and fight the boss. And
for most people, they're not going to be successful. So
right in the beginning.
So it's not like you can see like the bars counting up and you're like, oh my gosh, we're almost there. I can't go to the store now because I have to do this encounter when it's available. No, you can go to the store.
Right.
Because this is going to happen a few times before you can probably get even in to see that encounter.
Right. And the encounter will open up multiple times a day, for one. For 2, you might have to level up your reputation and be getting the buffs that the reputation increases get you for a month before you'll even be able to clear the encounter for the first time.
Right.
So you might have to go up through those rep tiers for a month or 2 months. Who knows? So I think that's part of what people aren't getting as well. But boy, they put a lot of work into it. Sort of both art, mechanics, stitching together these multiple systems, wrapping a narrative around it, and making it a cohesive group activity, a cohesive, ongoing, open group activity. Now it's buggy to start. Like some of the dynamic encounters aren't working exactly the way they're supposed to. I haven't run into it yet. You guys did a little bit of it last night as well, and I did some of this, but often we've run into situations with the dynamic encounters where it's supposed to give everyone progress, but it doesn't. Hopefully they've worked out most of those bugs. But like there was a key one this morning that I was doing where you go into a zone and it was in the cold zone and it was like these weak tendrils are popping up on the ground. Got to stamp them out. Go stamp on them. However, if you step on them, they would go away and no one would get credit. But if you didn't step on them, if you stayed away from them and everybody like ranged, shot them and blew them up, it would give credit. I think that's a bug. It's not supposed to work that way. You're supposed to just have everybody running around stamping on 50 of them. Well, it's broken. It's bugged. So then like it was frustrating everybody. And they were like, don't run up to him. It bugs him out, blah, blah, blah. So they'll have to fix those things. But otherwise, big groups of people, it's brand new. We'll have to see how this is looking, in a month from now. But big groups of people all coordinating and working together to try to bash these areas and get their progress on reputation. And there's kind of like an intro storyline where you're talking to a couple guys that say, hey, can you go do this thing for me? So yeah, I think it's bigger on the inside than on the outside. So yeah. Yeah, bigger than a Rakghoul. Oh, that's you saying that in the chat room,
Yeah.
Sema.
Yes, because Forrester was asking if it's like a juiced up Rakghoul tunnels, but I think it's definitely more and juiced up and bigger than Rakghoul tunnels, but I'm not exactly sure what he's asking there.
At least 50% bigger than Rakghoul tunnels, I would say, if not
And it's more
3
like a
times as big.
zone just because
Yeah,
the tunnels are basically tunnels, right? So you
right.
go through and they're closed in all the time. This is more like a zone.
Yeah, I would say it's probably content-wise 3 times as big as Rakghoul tunnels. Zone and area-wise, you could think of like the snow zone as like being like, how maybe each of the subzones, the 3 subzones are like the size of like the Rakghoul tunnels. But you know how in the Rakghoul tunnels, it's like there's only like 6 or 8 little quests in there, and then the heroic area. This is quite a bit bigger. And because they're the dynamic events, there's lots of variation. There's probably like 6 in each of the subzones at least, if not more than that. We'll have to get the complete list somewhere.
And there's
See what it looks
definitely
like.
stuff to learn. Like when I went down there on the test server and I was going into the snow area, I was like, I stopped to look at the map because I wasn't sure where I was going. And because of a zone inspired debuff, I just died looking
Yep.
at the map. And I thought, well, okay, what am I supposed to do about that? And I still don't know because when I went back to do the thing, I just went right to where I was supposed to go once I was in the tent, and I wasn't freezing to death anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
I noticed
that's
that
pretty
too. That
much.
was the only part that I did. If you keep running, running. If you keep running, then you
Oh, I see. Okay.
it lowers your stacks. If you ever get up to 10 stacks, then you basically start to freeze, and you've got like 60 seconds to get to a warm area, which is like at one of the tents.
Yeah. See, I did not do that learning piece yet, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's good to know.
But yeah, so here's Eric. Eric this was on the PTS 2 weeks ago. This was them doing some of the instance where the final boss is at. So there's sort of like an outer area which a lot of people can go into once it opens up. And then the very final boss fight, which still has some trash and stuff that you have to fight, takes you can only have 4 people in there, and you need like a tank, a healer, and 2 DPS, and it's very, very difficult at the start without any of the buffs. So cool. Fun thing they put together there, and I think they did it. They put a lot of work into it.
He streamed for a couple hours, and it was a very fun and chill event, and was very well received. I hope he does more of that.
Yeah, he should. All right, so that's Star Wars: The Old Republic.
I feel like it would be a cheap way to get some pretty solid goodwill. Just stream a couple hours, a couple times a month.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be interesting. All right, so next up on our list, a game that you and I both have jumped into at least a little bit, and you've played a lot more in the past year than I have in various iterations, is World of Warcraft.
Yes.
And we did get, so this isn't, I was corrected, this isn't pre-patch, but it is prologue.
Right.
So pre-patch means something very specific to WoW people, because you get a lot of like the class changes that are coming with the next update. And you get a lot of like the mechanics changes and the systems change. This is still the prologue. So this is the sort of like a interim period between the first of the 3 expansions in this war,
Right.
within this new era of storytelling.
We are still in quote unquote season 3. But for us, our raid team, since we've already killed the last boss in season 3, it's a interim, but it's not the pre-patch.
Right.
So that's why a lot of a lot of people are playing Remix right now is because they're in the same boat. This is between. But yeah, so this has also got a story piece, which
Yeah.
I have not started yet.
I looked it up a little bit. I watched the trailer for this story piece, which is called The Warning. So Blizzard calls it the Midnight Prologue. Midnight is the name of the next expansion that's coming next year. I think it's March or May. I don't know when that's coming. May. But Midnight Prologue, The Warning. So The Warning, it's a little story element and a little bit of questing that goes on, and it tells a little bit of this transition between you just killed the big bad of the previous expansion, and something happened where, Xalatath is up to some shenanigans, and you get to see a little bit of like an interim chapter of sort of what's going on in between. So if you watch the trailer, which looked interesting, you see a couple familiar faces, you see a couple, like Alaria Windrunner, who's sort of been a main character so far in the story to date. She's doing some stuff. But you also get to see, who did we get to see? Sylvanas shows her face in the trailers, at least. And then I watched some of the cutscenes of what actually happens in the story, and get a little bit of chat and hang a little bit of story is happening around Sylvanas. And I don't think it's a lot, and I don't know if it's going to become more in the future. So we don't need to spoil it, but I don't think it's a big thing. But Sylvanas is around. She's been hanging out in the Maw, which is kind of like the afterlife dimension of some kind.
And I mean, this is a lot to do, right? Like there's Remix, and you just saw there's the Brawlers Guild, which is it's like a solo boss fight thing where you go and you go through bosses of increasing difficulty until you win whatever prize you're after. That's time consuming. There's also the time walking thing that was up there, which is if you do 5 time walking dungeons, you get a buff, right? And as long as you keep that buff rolling, at the end of the season, you get a mount. So that's a little bit of dungeon running also that you'd have to do, and then at the end is going to be the pre-patch, which is historically a lot of doing stuff, right? Because that's when you get the gear that you're going to use to like play in the beginning of the next X pack, and it's just a lot.
Right. And that's all on top of housing, which they released.
All on top of housing. And I know I already mentioned Remix, but Remix all by itself is also a lot. It's just
Remix is Remix. I mean, and because there's still classic, and there's 2 kinds of classic. So there's a lot of Warcraft to go play.
Yeah. Yes.
Definitely. And there's people that could be involved in Remix that have no interest in Midnight or War Within or any of the retail game playing.
And you remind me too, like one of the classics that are out there, their path is they're going to BC. So that Burning Crusade, so that's happening soon too.
Which is fun for them. And they also might not care about any of this Midnight stuff either.
Well, I mean, the classic that I played, we went to Burning Crusade. And then we went to Wrath, and then we went to Cataclysm.
Oh wait, so now Classic is going to Burning Crusade?
No, it's the 20th anniversary servers that was a year ago. So it's the classic era is staying vanilla, but like classic Season of Discovery is quote unquote sort of gone now. But this is like the 20th anniversary servers are going to Burning Crusade.
So they're
3 starting
classics.
For sure, at least 3.
Okay.
So, but they're starting forward the way the classic that I played has already done. So maybe, I don't know, maybe MOP is as far as they go and they just cycle through again. I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see whether they do Warlords of Draenor after MOP.
Yeah, well, that remains to be seen. I know they had potential plans of even like sticking in an era and adding new content, but within the context of that era potentially. But
they talk about WoW 2. I mean, not WoW 2, but WoW Plus or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be a different track, not the tracks that are going forward.
But back on this retail side, housing, have you done anything else on your house yet,
No,
Sema? I have not either.
I bought my house and I put down like a bed and some bookcases and I put like 2 chairs by the fireplace because I wanted a sofa, but I don't have a sofa apparently. So here's
Oh, chairs
the
are very
housing.
flexible, Sema. There's a lot you can do with chairs. Trust me.
Yes. That's yes, I don't that sounded weird. I don't want to I don't want to know any more than what you just said. But
That was not a euphemism.
um so what I would like to do with housing is, well, yeah, now you're showing some of the these are the creative people and what they do with housing, but um like let's say I decided that I want a sofa, then I have to find out where I can go buy a sofa. And if it's not if I can, then I can go buy a sofa. But if I need to do an achievement, it's a reward from an achievement, then I can go and find out what that achievement is and then start working towards that achievement. So the housing can drive some gameplay for me, for sure.
Sure. And as you've likened it before to transmog, where
Yeah.
you might see
Yeah.
an outfit or see a piece of an outfit and you wonder where that comes from. And then you go down this rabbit hole of I need this achievement or these content
Right.
or this drop. It could be really interesting that way.
Right. So there's an outside chance that this housing thing could sort of fill in the hole that's left by them deciding to sort of abandon pet battling. So that side of the game, the cozy casual side.
Right. True. For a
Although
lot of
there's
people could kind of
quite a bit
go to
of
that.
non-cozy things that you had to do to get the various pets. So I don't know why I call it that, but
It is looking pretty interesting. A lot of people are having fun. Um, a lot of people are, this video that I've found here. Let's see, let's give credit to somebody who put it together. It's not their houses, but it's this YouTuber called Pank. I don't know who they are. Hopefully they're a nice person. They are exhibiting a bunch of houses that other people have put together and done clever things. Because one of the things you can do is you want a table, go get a table, place the table. The other thing you can do, which is what this sort of like the decorating part, the cosmetic part of what this system is fun for, a lot of games do it this way, is you could just get a brick and get, like 12 of these bricks and assemble the bricks and clip them together and scale them and rotate them and make a cool table out of the 12 bricks that you got.
yes, make yourself a little induction cooktop.
Yeah, an eye of the stove.
Right. Right. Which reminds me, we've mentioned this before, but there's also a system where you level up your house. So like right now at the level my house is, I can't do the kinds of things where you can turn off clipping to do what you're talking about. I have to level up my house a little
Oh,
bit
you can't
before I
even
can do
do
that.
the turning off the clipping yet? Oh, that's interesting. It also
Unless
updates the number of things you can place, the kinds of rooms you can add, how many stories you can like have in your interior, which is, again, it's a TARDIS. It's much bigger on the inside than the outside of everybody's house. So yeah, you do want to be leveling up your house as well. So that's a little bit of gameplay.
but I think it levels up just as you do things. I don't yeah, I'm not too concerned about that.
There was a news update that came out just yesterday or the day before where there are budgets, there are limits to how many things you can place in a room, how many things you can place in your house, how many things you can place outside your house. Because the outside of the house is shared in an instanced area, but there's 50 houses in a neighborhood, which is, there's a Horde version and an Alliance version of the zone.
And
the
anyone
zones
can
are
go in there.
diverse and fun. And you can join public ones, or you can have a private guild one, or eventually even get together with 10 strangers and sign a charter and have like a chartered one. However, there is a limit to, because it's this shared space, how many things you can put outside your house that you can
Right.
use to make giant
And I
giant
understand. Yeah,
phalluses.
well, right. I understand that it's really easy to hit that limit. The limit was 200, and like what
Yes.
you're leading up to is they increased it to 250. I think it's easier than I realized to hit that limit because a friend of mine made a house. It looked amazing, but he started with like the normal house, and then he put a giant rock sort of like over it, so it kind of looks like, and then he put like a portal where the door is, so it looks like a portal into this giant rock, and then inside is his house. But he got stymied because he couldn't put any more. It was like he couldn't finish the back of it. So
Right.
I think there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, as soon as people want to start doing like stepping stones and fences, like the fences are, okay, well, first of all, buy 50 fence posts and 50 cross pieces, and now you've used half of your house, your 200 item budget to make a fence around your house.
Half of your gold as well.
Yes, because you have to buy each item. If you want 50 pieces, you need to buy 50 pieces with in-game currency for the most part, but there will be the cash shop. But that we talked about that differently. Anyway, that went up to 250. The other fun thing that they did was they had the ability, people discovered the ability, which is a little bit of a hack, to when you're placing the house itself in the external view in the neighborhood, you could like you click where it wasn't intended to make your house sort of like float and raise up in the air. And Blizzard said, oh, people are being clever about this and doing some clever things. We're going to open that up and add that ability for real, which then allows people to be making things like houses on stilts, or like this, which we're showing right now, which is sort of like a Baba Yaga house with legs, steampunky looking thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw one of them earlier this week that was
See, that looks like more than 200 items on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, it's extreme. Somebody made, it's got to be using the entire budget, made a spider, like a house-sized spider that was like grabbing the house in its front pincers and holding the house up like over its head.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It was fun
People
things
are
like that.
amazing.
Yeah. So 2 more fun things. They're going to continue to be working on it quite a bit because they don't even have the private charter neighborhoods. That's not even in the game yet or working. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot going on, and that's why they wanted to release it now. It's only able to be used by the people that have bought the pre-order, so it's even somewhat limited. I'm sure they wanted to ease into it, have fewer people starting than the eventual opening up to the entire player base, which is what it will be next, and the final update once Midnight is released. So we'll be keeping an eye on kind of what happens with it and where it goes. I'm sure that'll be fun. Anything else on WoW, Sema?
Probably, but I can't think of anything.
Well, let us move on to Fallout 76, which also had another update. So yeah, all 3 of these got really good updates. I played, and the Fallout 76 one, which is called Burning Springs, is again another pretty sizable update. They added a new zone. So the setting of Fallout 76 to date, well, I can't say it's only been West Virginia because they kind of like have an instanced area where you queue up, and either you could do it by yourself, but it's mostly like you're supposed to go with a small group of people. And it was in Pittsburgh for whatever reason, the Pit. But that was kind of like more like almost like a quest zone that you just go do a mission in that quest zone in Pittsburgh, and then you come out of there. Otherwise, it's the open map has always been West Virginia. This new zone is actually Ohio. So it's right across the border. It's attached to the current open zone map, but it's in Ohio across the border, and it's called Burning Springs. And Burning Springs is pretty cool. It's got some new art, as you'd expect. It's got a new kind of like story thread, which ties it together of kind of like this new gang, which runs this area with the Rust King and this whole idea of like rust and ghouls and decay. So it's not a happy, nice, pretty zone. It's filled with rad hogs, which are radiated mutant hogs, and a bunch of zombies. The character which introduces you and sends you to go check it out, though, is Walton Goggins. So it's the ghoul, voiced by Walton Goggins, And if you jump right into the game, right outside the vault where you start the game, so you could just be like level 1 starting the game, you'll run into Walton Goggins as the ghoul right outside the starting vault, which is cool. So he hangs out there. He tells you what to do. He says, normally I'd just shoot you in the face and take everything you got. But I just made a big score and you don't look like you got anything on you. So let me give you some advice. So he sends you off into checking out what's going on in Ohio. And after you get into Ohio, do a little bit of the intro, which I did. I got started, did the starting mission. I traveled over to cross the bridge. I killed a couple of these raiders, and there was someone who was like broadcasting a distress signal. I got into the radio tower. I talked to her, and she double-crossed me. So then you get knocked out and you wake up, and then the story progresses and you meet the Rust King and you find out what's going on there. And then it goes on from there. The other thing that happens is later on then in that zone, kind of like when you're done with the story content, you've opened up the zone, a new type of content, repeatable content shows up, which is Walton Goggins coming back saying, hey, also, I run a service. And my service in the Burning Springs is a bounty hunting service for people that need to be taken care of, if you know what I mean. And he's got like these, it's just brilliant. It's everything he says just comes across really well. And the writing for what he says in this still fits as well. And it's just like talking about, he says something like everything rusts in Burning Springs, steel rusts, iron rusts, and the people get rusty. So you got to ask yourself, are you going to stay with what you're doing now? Or are you going to take my offer to keep yourself from getting rusty? Stuff like that. But then you can do these repeatable bounties. And they seem more than just like go here, kill a thing. It's once you pick up the bounty, the NPC that you're got to track down and go shoot gets a mutation assigned to them. So there's a little bit of like variability to what happens to them. Maybe they're going to be irradiated, and so they become like a bigger version. And any of the other NPCs in that area, which when you're going out to do the bounty, will also then pick up that mutation, and you got to like get in there and get out and get it done. Otherwise, all these mutated mutants and stuff will take you down and kill you. And then it has a chance to drop like a mega bounty of some kind, which then has you go kill a boss mob of some kind that spawns off of the whole bounty system. But yeah, pretty cool. I had to play it at least enough to go meet Walton Goggins' character and see how they presented that in the game. And he's just in there. He's part of the game. He's hanging out. So that is cool to see and fun to have that be part of it, and fun to hear Walton Goggins' voice as part of the game.
So a timeline note, this all takes place a lot before the show.
Yes.
So this is like a ghoul who hasn't experienced the events that are in the show, which I think is interesting.
Yes. Yes, this is some of the earliest timeline of when anyone has come out of a vault. Is what's happening with the Fallout 76 scenarios.
Yeah.
It's one of the first vaults to open. And have people like come out and realize that people have been out on the surface this whole time. Because the people in the vault, of course, didn't think that and didn't know that. They thought that everybody went into the vaults and they were going to be coming out into a pristine world that had been cured of all ills. And that's not what they found. You sort of see the same thing in the Fallout show, but that's a much different timeline. But they thought the same thing in that vault. So yeah, that is fun to see. I did take a little bit of time to get into it. I realized it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's been about a year since I played Fallout 76. And I had gone pretty far in Fallout 76 before, back when I was playing it. Oh, look at this. The next in my feed was the new Overlords podcast, apparently. I'd gone pretty far I had been pretty strong. I didn't level up. It's at about 300, I think, is when you unlock your last legacy card slot, which is kind of like your skill slot. And I had updated a bunch of my skills. You sort of rank up your skills over time. I still have quite a ways to go. I'd say I'm about like halfway through like the getting like a really elite build, but I was pretty strong and I could go solo a lot of like the end game content. I don't know if I forgot how to play, which I'm sure is part of it, but also my build was completely shot and gone and all of the meta had changed and I had to like reslot all of my build. And the build system in Fallout 76 fits really well from a Fallout game perspective, but is not intuitive when you haven't like figured out what's going on. The way you set up your build is you have your stats, which are, the acronym is special. So it's like strength, perception, endurance, SPEC, charisma, intelligence, agility, luck. So you put points, and that's just slot how many points you want in each of those. Then there are cards which might even rank that up a couple more points or something. But then the cards are the perks. And you can put then for each point you have in your stat, so say you've got like 12 points in strength. Well, then you can slot 12 points worth of cards. And the cards either spend 1, 2, or 3 points. But there's dozens and dozens of cards. So it gets very difficult to figure out what cards you should be slotting, what cards have synergies then with the perks you'll have on your weapons and armor, and what you should be doing across all of that to make a viable build. And my builds were no longer viable, so I had to reslot a bunch of cards. I had some good weapons, but now my perks weren't synergizing with my weapons, and stuff that I used to be able to just do in solo and one shot, I was not anymore. And I felt bad, and I'm bad, a bad player who doesn't know what they're doing. So if I want to go further, if I want to start doing these bounties, I'm going to have to figure that out. I got somebody's video and like slotted a bunch of cards. I'm like, oh, this should work, right? It's like, well, I got through the intro quest in Burning Springs, but I didn't do as good as I expected. And a Deathclaw like swatted me in the face and took off 2/3 of my health, basically two-shot me. So I did die once it's kind of like a 12-person death match that they drop you in real early in that quest. And the Deathclaw that gets released into the arena nothing else killed me, but that did kill me one time. But they just spawn you right back into it and you just keep going. Yeah, that was not what I expected. Because yeah, I was soloing like in-person multiplayer content before I quit the first time, or before my break. And I never really quit. I always thought I was still playing.
Right.
Didn't realize it'd been a year. But yeah, so you got to expect that anytime you take a break from any MMO. And it was even more of a shock to the system when I got back into Fallout 76. Did get to play with my house though a little bit, and it's got sort of like a nice little housing system. One of the things I like, which you can kind of do in World of Warcraft as well, is after you set up your housing, the way it works in Fallout 76 is you spawn into a server, and the servers are moderately multiplayer. So it's all of the West Virginia map, but there's only like 20 to 30 to maybe 50 people tops. And as soon as that map fills up, there'll be another one. So there might be like dozens or hundreds of the maps. So each time you log off and log back on, unless you're in a group with people, you're going to keep, in fact, if you don't like the people that are like hanging out in your map, just log off and log back on. You're immediately going to be with a new group. You never like log back. It's never the same West Virginia twice. But your house, wherever you placed it, is, except if somebody else put their house there. So that's another thing that I end up doing, because I put my house in sort of like a popular place, and you get like a little plot of, you sort of like have a zone for an area that you've laid out of outside things and inside things that you might have built out. If it's taken up, it'll say you get to place it somewhere else. And that's interesting because then you can take your whole base that you've created and drop it somewhere else on the map. So that's cool, which you can also do in World of Warcraft. If you wanted to take your housing, now there's only like the 50 slots in the whole zone, but if you wanted to take it to a different neighborhood or a different plot in that neighborhood, you can pick up your whole house and drop it into a different plot, and it's your whole house and everything's there, which is cool. It's a cool way to do it. But yeah, in Fallout, it's a little bit more of like a survival. There's a little bit more of a survival crafting vibe going on than you have in World of Warcraft. So some of the things that you're putting in your house, you kind of need as crafting stations and repair stations and cooking stations, and like growing food in your housing plot, that you kind of like need. So there's a bunch of functional things. So even if you're just not caring about the architecture of your build, you need those kinds of pseudo survival crafting stations placed somewhere that you can make use of. So you're going to use it for that. So that's a little bit different than World of Warcraft, and different than what we have in Star Wars: The Old Republic, for example. So I like what I put together. The other thing that is kind of cool with the housing there is you can get like a prefab house that you just put on your little plot of land, or you can get just like, floors and walls and ceilings and roofs and stack them together and snap them together and make your own whatever. I made my own whatever, which I really liked because it was, kind of form follows function. Is that Edwin Meese? It's one of the Chicago architects. I designed it so that all of the crafting stations were really accessible, but it will also be accessible to anyone else who might stop by because I put my crafting thing in an open area, because it's also got like a vending machine, which other people can like buy stuff from me if I have my house out there and I'm logged in at the time. But it's functional so that anyone else can come and use my crafting stations, which people like and is a nice thing to do. But it's doesn't really look much like a house. It looks more like a 2-story open layout, almost like a set of stalls for a shop. So that it's more functional for all of like the buffs and crafting stations and everything that I need access to.
It's probably not as much of a shopping activity as it is for Star Wars: The Old Republic and World of Warcraft.
In terms of the things you would buy to be putting into your base?
Like like customizing, like.
Well, I don't know. I would say because of the functional elements and then being able to skin each of the functional elements, the cash shop is a big percentage of the cash shop is filled with stuff for your house.
Okay.
Because one of the fun things to do is you have like a storage box, and that's the whole, like your whole bank in Fallout 76 is your storage box. There are a couple like questing hubs where you can go to a version of your storage box, but you put them in your house. A fun thing to do though is each time they come out with a new season or a new holiday pack is a different skin for that storage box. So they have skins for all of the crafting stations as well. Maybe you're going to get one that's painted the Fallout show colors, and it says, it's got Lucy's vault number on it, or maybe it's got Christmas decorations and flashing lights on it, and so there's all of that in the cash shop. There's also the season that you buy, the season pass. While you're ranking up in the season, half of the rewards that you're getting are things to put in your house, either just straight up cosmetic decorations or more skins to put on your weapons crafting table and your repair kit table and your scrapping table and all of those kinds of things too. So yeah, no, it's a pretty big part of it, and it is built into the monetization scheme as well. What they do in Fallout 76 and what sort of like the way they do it in, or do they do it that way in Star Wars: The Old Republic? No, Star Wars: The Old Republic is, if you get something off of the cash shop, it's one of them, isn't it? And if you wanted to buy like two of them, you would need to buy two, wouldn't you? Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yes, yes.
You do get a lot in game where you'll unlock 100 at a time, like chairs. You'll like of the
Right.
basic chairs, you unlock 100 at a time.
Or you can buy them for 1 credit.
Yeah. Fallout 76, I think everything when you unlock it, you're unlocking unlimited numbers of those. But you might have like an in-game cost of materials to place it, if I remember. Yeah, I think I need like you can only place one crafting table, like one scrapping table. So that's not an issue. But I think like the walls that I use to build my house, I have to spend materials that I've collected, scrap materials like glass and metal, because all of my walls are look like greenhouse walls and roofs and like a glass floor. And I have like lights under the bottom of the glass floor that light up, doing some tricks like that. But I think I get like, I unlocked the glass wall and then I can place unlimited numbers of them, but I do have to be spending materials I've collected in game to place it. It's a little bit different. So yeah, cool. It's fun to have any kind of housing system in any MMO. So it's great that WoW's got theirs, and it's a good version of a system in general. Fallout 76, I like. And then the versions that I like, and Star Wars: The Old Republic's theirs I like, which is again, it's got some unique spins on it. Star Wars, you can have a little bit of rotation and scale, but you're limited to sort of like the sockets where you're placing items. So you can't just like place 3 things next to each other or like 10 things in a row necessarily, unless the sockets the placement sockets are available on the floor for where you want to place them.
Right.
And then my favorite, of course, are the survival game versions. Where you're kind of like needing to build yourself a fort because there's dinosaurs that are going to come and eat you if you don't have a fence and walls, which then gives it a little bit of purpose. Or like which we had fun with in 7 Days to Die, where you can have wandering zombies that are going to come and eat your face unless you've got walls and potentially turrets or defensive emplacements, a little bit of tower defense to save you, which is fun too. So there we go. 3 bits of content for 3 live services that are available to us that we will continue to play. Had fun with them all. What are you going to be playing this week, Sema?
I'm going to finish the story beat in Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'm going to play some remix, and I'm going to do the story in World of Warcraft.
That sounds good. I should catch up on stories as well. So I do want to do the story in Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'll probably be doing that this week as well. And then maybe pick one more story between the Fallout 76 one or the WoW one. But I've got a lot of Gardening to Goat that we're doing. We're kind of in a crunch this month as well. And we'd like to get a bunch of things done before we all kind of do a bunch of family stuff at the end of the month. So because nobody's going to be doing much then. But we got to be pushing hard to our beta as well. So,
right.
We're at a little bit of a crunch. Was doing a little bit of game design this morning, and did a couple coding
don't crunch
updates.
Too much.
No, that's for me, game dev is a game that I play, which I enjoy. Right. So that's always fun too. All right, so we'll see what we're going to talk about next week. We could catch up on some story talk then. Maybe we do that. Maybe we do this SWTOR story and the WoW story and do a little bit of story time. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
We'll see. But that is it for today. And all the feed subscribe links for us are on newoverlords.com, and our videos up on YouTube/newoverlords. Come chat with us in our Discord. Tell us what stories we should be playing for any MMO. You can find that at newoverlords.com/Discord. You can also follow on all the social media networks, and we will keep you up to date there too. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.